Mysore, that is through online. So, a very good morning to one and all. And so, basically, I thought that I will focus on the two topics. So, first, I thought I'll begin with digital colonization, and subsequently, the second lecture, I'll be focusing on smart governance. How, in the era of this digital colonization, we have to focus on smart governance. So, these are the two topics I'll be covering for the session morning sessions. So anyway, thank you once again for the opportunity, Krishna Ambal sir, because he's always been engaging and sharing informations which we can share the knowledge and also benefit each other. So firstly, I would like to acknowledge that I am no expert on digital or the AI and other things, but here it's an attempt as a student of political science. I am trying to understand the impact of this digital colonization. What is the impact of these digital colonizations on the society, on the polity and other things, particularly from the political point of view, political perspective, I'm trying to see one. And second thing is also the attempt is made like what effort should the government of India should be making, or we as a citizen, in terms of ensuring that we are digitally sovereign. So those aspects I'll be trying to cover in this first session, we can say. So I've divided my presentation into four sections. In the first section, I'll be focusing all about digital colonization. What is digital colonization? What are the forms of digital colonization? And how important and relevant it has become, which many of us tend to ignore. And second thing, I'll be focusing on what is the Indian scenario, because in India, the India's drive for the digital infrastructure, digital communications, everything has started from the 1980s onwards. So you can see Rajiv Gandhi was the one who laid the foundation for digital telecommunication transformation and revolution. Subsequently, all the successive governments have continued and then contributed even more significantly. And during the Prime Minister Modi's tenure, we can see the Digital India, which has already completed 10 years. So a lot of transformation. So how that is there we'll focus. Third thing would be focusing on what is India's response to digital colonization. So when we talk about digital colonization, so how it is happening and what has been India's response in terms of what challenges it confronts in terms of addressing these issues. And finally, what are the lessons we can learn or unlearn from the other countries? So there are other countries in the world also, all are part of this digital transformation which is happening in a significant and a very faster scale. So in that context, it is very important to understand what lessons we can learn from the other countries. So be it Southeast Asia, be it Europe, or be it the Latin American region. So what are the ways in which they are addressing? So we'll try to focus on that one. That's how my fourth presentation is there. So before I begin, let me ask the participants, any of you can answer. So what do you mean by digital colonization? Of course, we all know what is colonialism, and we are also the victim of colonialism for almost a centuries together. Every region has been there, be it China, be it India, or the neighboring countries. So, what is this digital colonization? Anybody? Anybody can answer what? Because at least we'll have some idea about your understanding of these aspects. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. It is not necessary that you have to tell in English only. You can speak in Kannada also, any language also. So doesn't matter. Language should not be a barrier for any kind of fruitful discussion. So digital colonialism ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಏನು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ?
Western countries' domination on digital media, I think.
Okay, fine. Others? ಹೇಳಿ ಬೇರೆಯವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? Hope all of you had breakfast.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
Yes, sir.
expect, yeah, please kindly you can say what
Tantranya.
exactly you think of. There is no right answer or wrong answer. It is just basically to understand your perspective. That's it. Anybody?
ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಿಡಿತವನ್ನು ಸಾಧಿಸುವಂತಹದ್ದು.
Okay, fine. Correct. ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರನ?
ಪಾಶ್ಚಿಮಾತ್ಯ ದೇಶಗಳು
ಹಾ
ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಈ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನ ಮತ್ತು ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ IT ಏರಿಯಾದ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು.
Okay. Fine, absolutely. Outside Karnataka, participants?
ಸರ್ ಇವಾಗೇನ್ ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಗ್ರಾಮ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಒಂದ್
Okay.
ರೀತಿ ಡಿಜಿಟಲೀಕರಣದಿಂದಾನೇ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
ಹೌದು. Correct.
ಈ ಥರ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾವ ತರ ಇತ್ತು ಸಸ್ತ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒಂದು
Absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll discuss. So good, valid points
Sir,
you have made.
Sir,
And
one second.
Yeah.
Sir, multinational companies and IT sectors and WhatsApp and
Okay.
Twitter
Yeah.
and
Social
fax,
media.
international communications, all digitally
Yeah.
communicate each other countries.
Yeah.
These are all the concepts. One second, digital colonialism.
Oh, fine.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Rather,
Fine.
sir, capitalistic countries are controlled over the digital, sir, digital.
Okay. Complete control over the digital. Yes, absolutely fine. So all of you are aware about what is happening. So that is a good thing. So we can take forward the important thing. Okay, so basically we know that, see, the digital colonization has become one of the major issues with regard to geopolitics as well as ethical challenges. So geopolitically, it is also challenging because the developed countries are the one who are trying to take major control of the digital infrastructure in the third world countries, or what we call developing countries, or the least developing countries. At the same time, the digital era, which is inevitable, so all of us are depending upon the digital platforms and other things. So even the online courses are held, all the MMTC courses or other things are held online. So we are making use of the digital aspects, but at the same time, there is a lot of ethical challenges to it, so that we tend to ignore. So it's a geopolitical and ethical challenges which has been coming up. So when we talk about digital colonization, it's all about digital technology. It's all about the digital infrastructure and the data. Data is a very important aspect. All of us are aware of it. So these three components are part of digital colonialization, what we call it as. They colonize, taking control of the infrastructure, taking control of the digital technology, and also the data. So as we all know, the data is very important and critical component for empowering. So Government of India, successive government from 1990s onwards, are clearly articulating that why we have to digitalize, why there's a need for e-governance, everything for better public goods delivery, at the same time ensuring efficiency, transparency. So through data, one can empower the citizens, transform the country. At the same time, data can also be used to harm the people as well as the country. So data is a double-edged sword. So many people say data has become the new oil. Okay, so it is like an oil, how the oil producing countries are trying to use energy as a resources to control over the other countries, to control the global market and other things. Similarly, in this fashion, data is also one of the oil, they say. But the fundamental difference between data and oil is that data can be used for monetary value, same as oil. But at the same time, data can also be used for surveillance by the government and the tech companies. So now all of us are using WhatsApp. So it is says end-to-end encryption. That means nobody can see. But reality, the government can access your WhatsApp informations or videos, post, everything which you have shared as and when required. Similarly, the tech companies which are providing the services also have the possibilities of accessing this. So data is not like oil. It is a double-edged sword where can be used for benefits as well as can be used for surveillance in the name of national security and other things. So what exactly the digital colonization means? So basically it means it is a decentralized extraction of all the informations, okay, with the consent or without consent of the users. So users might give their consent, users may not give their consent, particularly in the developing or underdeveloped countries. So it is not that developing countries are trying to hold on to the data or control of the other countries. It is the developed or the Western countries which have the global domination because of their beginning of the 20th century, the Industrial Revolution, technological revolution. So they have an advantage. So they are able to successfully control many of the developing and least developed countries with regard to digital technology, digital infrastructure, and the data. So this is all about trying to take control of the existing data is one we can see. Then apart from this also we can see use of digital technology can also be used. So when we say digital colonialism means it is not just collecting the data of the users with the consent or without the consent. It also means you can use the data or the technology or the infrastructures for your dominance in terms of controlling politically the country, economically, socially, culturally. So it's a culture dominance by the developed countries or the tech corporations on the citizens of any country for that matter. So that also is what we call digital colonization. So there's a new form of imperialism, many people say. So why digital colonialism can be also called as imperialism means apart from the dominance on several sectors, they also tend to what we can say they are against what we call digital sovereignty. See, all we in political science we study sovereignty and how globalization has impacted sovereignty. But here we'll be focusing like digital sovereignty. Means we are sovereign country, we are independent, that is fine. But at the same time, are we digitally sovereign? So that is the present 21st century debate which has been prevailing in most of the countries we can see. So are we digitally sovereign? Means do we have complete control of the data which we have? Because most of the data which are collected in India are all based in the foreign countries or the Western countries. The data are stored, not in India. So this is not the case of India only, many of the developing countries. So they are against digital sovereignty. They are against having a free hand for the government with regard to infrastructure, particularly in this thing. And there is also they want to continue with the dependency. So we have to depend upon that countries for growth and prosperity of the India or any country for that matter. So this is more or less like the colonialism which existed earlier. So as we all know that the colonial 100 years of colonial rule. So how the British, Portuguese, Dutch exploited, and same way the other colonial rulers in Africa, Asia, it is quite common. So it is the same more or less. So only difference is earlier colonialism and present colonialism is that it is through digital realm or in the digital field this kind of colonialism is coming to picture, and we cannot blame completely the western countries for these things. So there is also the governments in each of these countries across the world who are also facilitating these kind of digital colonialism we can see. So we'll see what is the fundamental difference between colonialism and digital colonialism. So when we see the difference, we can see when it comes to control. So during the colonial rule, all of us are familiar, and now in digital colonial rule. So control, when we say it is a single state control. So state used to control, of course, East India Company was there, and then that was a front-run organization or company, and then the controlled by the England we can see. So it's a direct control, state control. When it comes to digital colonization, it is a very strong direct control by also by the tech corporation. So they tend to control. And second thing, what is the focus? If you see, the focus is basically the Britishers used to do occupation and infrastructure development. So they used to occupy the countries and come out infrastructure development so that it will benefit their own country. Similarly, in digital colonialism, it is all about building and establishing the digital platforms and infrastructure. So that is the kind of role they are playing. Then when it comes to claim, so when the British came to India, Portuguese, Dutch, and all, they ruled for several years. So they tend to argue that this will going to benefit the local bodies. It is going to bring about transformation in civilization, because always the British used to say white man's burden, that basically we are here to protect you, at the same time we are here to reform you, try to improvise your civilization. But what the tech companies or the digital colonies talk about, it's the state capacity for development and security. They say we are enabling the states to come out with developments and also to strengthen and protect the security. So we are doing it for your sake. So that is what they're trying to say. So common resistance. So how did we fight the colonial rule? That is through military or through diplomatic and other struggle we did it. Whereas here it is all about that trying to do with use of technology, with use of data protection, with use of data storages. On those aspects we have to do it. So this is the fundamental difference. We can say basic difference between colonialism and the digital colonialism, which becomes important. Now we'll see what are the ways in which, what are the forms of digital colonization. So what methods they use to colonize the country through use of digital platform and the things. So first thing is control on digital platform. So all of us are very much using the digital platform, whether it is a Zoom platform or any other platform which has been used, whether it is social media, e-commerce. So everything, most of these companies are not the Zoom which we are using. It is not an Indian company, whether Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple. So most of these companies are all transnational companies which are not based in completely owned by India or made in India, we can see. So first form of digital colonization is trying to control the digital platforms. So they will have the complete control of digital platform, whether it is Facebook, Google, or Twitter. So we don't have the control. So it is the multinational companies which have the control. Second thing is data flow and dependency, because lot of data for everything which you want to access, social media or e-commerce, any platform, you need to provide personal informations, which is very much required. So these are all collected by these companies. So as a result, with the consent or without consent, but we depend upon them to get back the data or to access more kinds of data we can see. So all the personal informations would be shared. So the companies will know, for example, now I'm giving an online lecture. So the companies can easily access what is the gadget which I'm using. Okay, one. Then what is the personal email ID? What is my personal email ID, phone number? So then what kind of IP address, which is the IP address I'm using? So time zone, language. So everything they get access. So when you're using Facebook, Twitter, all of us are familiar. So when you're using social media also, all your personal informations are there with the companies. Even government data which we want to organize, I mean access. So there also we have to provide lot of personal information. So all these informations are there. I'm sure all the degree college teachers or university teachers within Karnataka are familiar with UECMS. So all the students' data, everything is being put there. So government has so much of data with regard to all the students across the state. Okay, with regard to their personal information, phone numbers, scholarships, detail, caste details, income details, examination results, you name it, everything, how much fees they paid, everything details are there in one platform. So it is basically they have access. Suppose if there is a breach of that data, then that will be a difficult scenario. So they have the control of the entire data. Suppose I want to start an university, okay, in Bengaluru. So I need a data like how many students are there who are economically better off, who can pay more fees and all. Then I can easily think of accessing the data as like USMS so that I'll get an idea to start the project or not. So the point I'm trying to say is that form of digital colonization is that basically the data flow is very high, dependency becomes inevitable, and all the personal information through which they collect, extract, and they are stored. So that is done by these tech companies we can see. Third important thing is the economic dependence. So economic dependence is also done because country says, every country, every government, whether it is in India, China, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, every country would argue that we need digital infrastructure, digital development, precisely because to bring about economic stability. So these companies, so every, for example, you can see every state chief ministers are organizing global investor summit. So whether it is Jharkhand, whether it is Madhya Pradesh, whether it is Delhi, South Indian states, all are organizing the Global Investor Summit. They want to invite many multinational companies or transnational companies to come and invest in India and then to become economically prosperous and successful. So country states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu are competing and Telangana for $1 trillion economy. Okay, so that is a competition they're trying to do. So this way it becomes very important. So to bring about economic stability, we try to do this thing. So that way it becomes important, we can see. Then there is also what we call now the digital colonization 2.0 in terms of the AI. So artificial intelligence coming into picture, we can see. So there is a lot of dependence, lot of talks. These days everybody talk about AI, which has become what we can say a common aspect when we talk about artificial intelligence, the progress and other things. So you can see AI is also one form of which through which they can try to sustain the digital colonization. So AI has become an inevitable tool for them to perpetuate what we call the existing inequalities, or the other aspects has been taken care. So that is one. Then apart from this, regulations and surveillance. So we can see that many of the foreign countries, so there are a lot of regulations are also coming up, which will allow the digital colonization to sustain. Okay, so we can see, for example, now Starlink. Okay, Starlink, it is a satellite-based internet connections. So Elon Musk is the company or owner of this Starlink. So now that has been allowed in India. So Airtel and Jio have tie-ups with the Starlink, and they're going to provide the Starlink facilities across the country. So the government argument is that it will be beneficial wherever there is no signal, hilly area, mountain area, internet connectivity is very poor. So those kind of thing we can always provide. This Starlink could be useful. So Starlink is been effective in Bhutan, effective in Myanmar. So many countries have already been using this Starlink. So in India also it will be used. And of course we have to pay more for accessing these things. So the point I'm trying to say is regulation and also surveillance. So too much of dependence on foreign companies and all, so also leads to a lot of surveillance. For example, America is the best example. So America is more advanced. America talks about democracy, freedom, liberty and other things. But you can see in America that Edward Snowden, okay, so he was the one genius who was working in American tech company, and he exposed like how American government was indulged in surveillance of its own citizens as well as citizens living abroad also. So he exposed like how America was doing this. Your Julian Assange, who exposed like how America was doing surveillance with regard to Russia. So similarly here, so in India also it has been done. So this is a quite common. So regulation and surveillance have become part. So this digital colonization means also includes regulating and also includes surveillance. So anytime it can be done. So government of India can always depend upon the tech companies for surveillance on any of the persons if there is a threat for national security. So no harm in government of India doing the surveillance to protect the national security. They have every right to do that one. There is no harm. But the surveillance with regard to the opposition, with regard to journalists, with regard to activists, so in America or India, China, anywhere, that is not acceptable in a democratic country, we can see. Okay, so that way it becomes a major problem. Then apart from this also it is control and ownership of critical digital infrastructure. Means ownership becomes important. There should be competition. So when there is a competitiveness or competition, it's healthy for the economy, healthy for democracy, and although healthy for the society. But if there is no competition and there is complete monopoly, then it is not going to serve the purpose of the marginalized section of the society. So here also in digital infrastructure, we can see they get direct access over all the what we can say the contents or political, economic, social and other aspects through which they can dominate. So that becomes a very important thing. So because of the tech companies domination, the local businesses and innovation get affected. So there is no scope for any local innovation. See, for example, now all of us are using Google, Facebook or social media, all multinational or transnational corporations. So where is the scope for any local company make in India to come up with the to counter the Google or to counter the Facebook or to counter the Twitter? So where is that provisions? Although government of India came up with this alternative to Twitter, Okay, but that how popular it is, one has to look into that one. So that way, the local businesses and the innovations will not have. So digital colonization doesn't allow much of local innovations or local businesses to flourish because they can't compete. They can't, for example, local journalists or local media, they cannot compete with the big houses like whether NDTV or India Today or Aaj Tak or other top big media houses, they cannot compete at all. So that way it becomes a very, for example, now in India, many foreign universities are setting up campus in India. So can the public universities or colleges compete with these uh, foreign universities? It's very difficult and challenging. So that is also one of the aspect we can see. Then cloud server. So all the data can't be stored in your laptops or in your data storages. So we need to store it in the clouds. So most of the iClouds facilities and other things are with the developed countries or with the multinational companies. So all our data is iCloud or whatever it is, everything is stored there and we have to pay for it. So digital colonization form is also like storing your data also. Through that, they also try to colonize. So that is also one of the important aspects of digital colonization, which we can see. Then, so this is the case in many other regions. It's not just in digital colonization. For example, in Latin America. So in Latin America, if you see that mainly so iClouds also you can see whether it is iCloud or Amazon Web Services or Google iCloud, Microsoft. So they all have the storage capacities where many of our data and other things are also stored there. So now in Latin America, if you see, you can see Amazon Web Service dominates there. So all the data, everything's business, everything's has been basically stored and everything in the this thing in this server. So they're depending upon all the government processing data for businesses. Everything is been depending upon there. So they have the control over this region altogether. Of course, there are checks and balances, regulations, but how long you can sustain those regulations and other thing for a longer duration. Even if in Africa, if you see, Chinese domination is there. So whether with regard to internet connections, whether with regard to network, whether regard to underground cables and other things, so Chinese companies are the one which are dominating in Africa. So naturally, they will have not much scope in terms of taking. I mean, the local governments will not have much say with regard to withstand the Chinese pressure and other things. So that is the fundamental difference we can see. Then apart from this, also we can see digital colonization. Another form is cultural influences. So through digital colonization also we could see a lot of cultural influences are happening. You can see in the urban areas only. So all of us are becoming familiar with the app-based purchasing, for example, digital platforms. Okay, so whether it is Big Basket, whether it is Blinkit app, whether it is the Zepto, so many of these apps which we are depending. So apart from these products which we are purchasing, we are consuming. So all the things has completely transformed. So it is completely an urban life with the Western values, Western ideas, and other things which we are trying to incorporate. Although it has made our life easier, we need not go to the shop, it will come to our doorstep. So those things are there, but there are also various complications which are happening there. So those things we have to keep in mind. So culturally also we can see the food habit, the music which we learn, the dresses which we are purchasing. So you can see there's a lot of westernization. Of course, there's a little bit of Indianization, but more often Western culture values which are there. So digital colonialism also one form is the what we call it as cultural dominance, which has become very important. So then the other important form of digital colonization is also setting the narratives. Okay, so there because the entire the social media platforms where we can completely influence, so that becomes very important. For example, we can see setting the narrative, we can see like for example, so there were several allegations with regard to elections in America and India that most of the media houses were going in one favor or setting one kind of a narrative. Okay, whether US elections, so there was a lot of many people, Elon Musk also was a partner to Donald Trump victory and other things. So there was a complete narrative which was set that this is going to be the victory, this is the important issue. So media is also trying to play its own role. So social media will determine your perception, your thinking, what way it should go. Because if you see in 2024 Lok Sabha election, prior to that one, might be in January or February, it was assumed, and even media's, most of the opinion polls, everything were predicting that a clean sweep for the incumbent NDA government. But that did not happen. The point is that not all media, there are still independent in medias which are functioning effectively, but many of the media houses we can see they were setting a narrative which was one-sided. So the point I'm trying to make is digital colonization will set a one kind of narrative which is not good for any democratic country. Then the other important you can see, for example, now Palestinian digital activism. So there are many Palestinians who are activists are using digital platform to express their views and opinion. But unfortunately, you can see in many countries, we are not able to get the Palestinian perspective. So there is always a Israeli perspective which is coming, what Israel is doing correct and all. So because of censorship, that the Palestinian opinions are not coming in larger, and because of the algorithms. See, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the YouTube. So when you go to YouTube or YouTube Shorts or Instagram, wherever you're using social media, when you scroll for some video, and then after that you'll get same kind of videos, similar videos will be coming in, even after the whole day also. Okay, so you can see that lot of similar videos comes. How it is coming? Suppose you are looking for a job, suppose you're looking for a course, suppose you're looking for a good movie, then you can see lot of similar videos keep coming and they will try to engage with you. So all of us are familiar. Once we start scrolling, we will not end. We can spend 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours just scrolling. You can see these days all of us are doing the same thing. What is called as the doom scrolling, which means that extended period of time you're going to see the negative news or any entertainment or whatever it is. So Palestinian digital activisms are also curtailed because of the censorship algorithm means. So since I have all the tech companies, I have control of the social media, so I can set the narrative whichever they want. So this is an example we can talk about. So that is also one form of digital colonization. So now coming to the Indian scenario. Okay, so in this is the thing. So when it come to Indian scenario, it is very important, critical. So India is also country which has been transforming and other things. So we can see a lot of transformation are happening and other things. So you can see in terms of India is completely, many people tend to call digitalize and other things. So if you see, for example, government owned data. Now we'll come to the important Indian section. So where Indian scenario. So you have the government data or the State of India Digital Economy 2024 report. All this report put together, the basic trends which are there is one, India is the third largest digitalized economy. Now India is the fourth largest, but before that, so third largest digitalized economy. So India is becoming the third digitalized means all we are depending too much on digital platforms, digital in tool, digital technologies. So that is good for the economy and good for the growth and prosperity now. So according to that, we can see we are also the fourth largest economy. Okay, so recently IMF also stated that India is the fourth largest economy with $4 trillion economy. So it is a good thing that we are fourth largest economy. Next, we can become third largest economy, second largest economy. That is fine. But so entire in India, we can see we are always beating that we are the fourth largest economy. So do you think that India being a fourth largest economy, it is contributed positively for everybody, or is it the fourth largest economy benefit has trickled down to everybody? I'm asking all of you that India is the fourth largest economy. So is it benefiting the all the sections of the society, or we should be in terms of celebrating, or we should be looking at what are the other areas? So do you think India becoming fourth largest economy, it's of course it's good for the country where fourth will become third. That is absolutely no doubt about it. But whether this fourth largest economy is benefiting all the sections of the society,
No, sir.
why it is not benefiting? Anybody?
ಸರ್ ಇದ್ರ
Like
ಎಲ್ಲರ
for
ಅನುಕೂಲವನ್ನ
rich peoples.
ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲಾಭ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಸರ್.
Hmm.
ಜನಸಾಮಾನ್ಯರಿಗೆ ನಂತ ಲಾಭ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
Okay. Fine.
ಬಂಡವಾಳಶಾಹಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಲಾಭ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಸರ್.
Yes, sorry.
ಬಂಡವಾಳಶಾಹಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ
Okay, fine,
ಆ,
fine. Okay.
ಸರ್ ಬಂಡವಾಳಶಾಹಿಗಳು ಆ, ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಂಡವಾಳವನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಶೇಖರಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಸರ್.
Okay. Fine.
MNC ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗಳು ಲಾಭ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದಾವೆ ಸರ್.
ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಲಾರ್ಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕಾನಮಿಲಿ ಅದು ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಪಡಿತಾ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ವರ್ಗಗಳಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಸೊ ಡು ವಿ ಸಿ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಲಾರ್ಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕಾನಮಿ, ಸೊ ಡು ವಿ ಸಿ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಹಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ರಿಯಾಲಿಟಿ?
ನೋ ಸರ್.
ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್,
ಯಾ.
ಸರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಬಾಟಮ್ ಅಪ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನೋ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟಾಪ್ ಡೌನ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಹೊರತು ಬಾಟಮ್ ಅಪ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಂತ.
ಹಲೋ ಸರ್.
ಯಾ.
ಸರ್ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅದ್ರ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವರ್ಗಕ್ಕೂ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
Okay, lack of awareness, lack of digital literacy. Yeah, fine, absolutely fine. So when we say India is the fourth largest economy, we should all feel proud because it's a good thing that India has replaced UK, then replaced Japan. Next is Germany. India is going to replace Germany because not much difference is there with regard to the GDP. So this fourth largest economy is in terms of GDP. So India's GDP is $4 trillion ಇರ್ಬೋದು, $4.27 trillion ಇರ್ಬೋದು, according to the World Bank data and other things. Whereas if you see, so many people say we are here, but there are also, we have to see as a teacher ಇರ್ಬೋದು, as a citizen of this country, we always have to see both the sides of the coin. We cannot see one perspective and start thinking that's the right thing. So if you see, when we compare with one thing, first thing is that, see, it is in terms of GDP. Okay. So in terms of GDP, India is $4.27 trillion economy, and we are going to replace Germany also next, which is in the third position. But if you see what is American GDP, so if you see, it is $30 trillion economy, $30 trillion economy. So we are 4 trillion, America is 30 trillion, China is $20 trillion economy, 19 point something, so close to $20 trillion economy. So, and then Germany is $4.8 trillion economy. Okay, so we will become third largest economy in another 1 or 2 years will become. But catching up with China and America, it's very huge one. Second thing, in terms of per capita income. So if you see in terms of per capita income, so we have replaced Japan, fine. But the Japan's per capita income is 33,000 US dollars. India's per capita income is $2,800. So we are $100 more than Bangladesh. So in terms of per capita income, even China. So China's per capita income is around 13,000 US dollars. So both India and China were same in 1970s. 1970s, both India and China were same in regard to population, with regard to poverty, with regard to all the aspects we can see, we were more or less the same. So today China is a $20 trillion economy with 14,000 per thousand US dollars per capita income, and with a lot of innovations they have been making great progress in terms of their trade and everything. They are completely transformed. So India is lacking not because of the population. So there are other serious fundamental issues which we need to address those things. So the point I'm trying to say is that in terms of per capita income, in terms of population, so several ways we can see we are still lacking. So just because we became fourth largest economy doesn't mean that we should stop here. We need to go further in terms of focusing on per capita income enhancement, human capital enhancement. So those are the areas where we need to focus and take forward, we can see. It's good that India is becoming third digitalized economy. That is absolutely fine, we can see. So for example, now we can see China is considered to be, for example, you can see the internet connections also. For example, 2030, it has been argued that the GDP's digital economy will contribute 20%. Okay, presently it is only 12% of India's GDP digital economy is contributing. So manufacturing sector, which is 17%. 17% of the GDP comes from manufacturing sector. 55% comes from the service sector. So we can see India is moving from manufacturing to service. But now there's a greater emphasis by the government that we should focus on manufacturing sector. China is a global manufacturing hub, okay, because China has a $1 trillion trade surplus. America has a $1 trillion deficit. So you can see two big powerful countries, $1 trillion surplus, and America has $1 trillion deficit, which is there. So that is the level of those two countries. So it is difficult for India, even if India wants to become the second largest economy, it will take 2070 or even more. It depends upon the other factors. So the point I'm trying to say is that India is growing, progressing, that is good. So in terms of digital economy, but there are also other issues we can see. Then internet connection, which is increased. So we can see it is increased drastically. 96 crore population are having internet connections. 5G towers in several districts we can see. Of course, some of the northeastern states and Jammu Kashmir districts are still lacking 3G or 4G network. But majority of the states and union territory, we have 5G and the UPI transactions. So that is also increasing drastically. DigiLockers, where every student, everybody or others also are keeping their documents. So that is also drastically increasing. Then Umang is one of the government platform which provides services, more than 2,300 services. It's an app which provides all services for the, it's a one nation, one app kind thing they have tried to bring in. So in that way, India is making a lot of progress in this digital transformation. So this is also going to be another challenging for India, we can see. So then, apart from this, you can see also the internet connection for the panchayat level, we can see. So a lot of gram panchayats are being connected with the internet, or high-speed internet connectivity is there. So internet users have increased drastically. So urban, rural population. See, between urban and rural, internet connection was always the gap very high. But now gradually it is coming down because of the penetration of internet across the country. So in India, we can see rural users are 55%. So they're gradually increasing, 55% of the population. Earlier it was 20%, 30%. Now they're increasing to 55% of the rural population have access to internet or using internet. And on an average, everybody is spending around 90 minutes per day. So in the urban areas, it is 94 minutes per day on an average they are using internet, and in the rural areas it is 89. So the gap between urban rural usage with regard to internet has not been very significant. So both, sorry, so internet and other things, so we can see both important. 94 and 89% is one of the significant we can see. And access to OTT also. So access to OTT also has become very important. So these days, OTT platform which have become very part and parcel of our daily life. You can see urban areas or rural areas. So you can see the number of users are increasing, social media is increasing. So drastically transformation is happening, and online gaming and payments. So everything is becoming digitally important and significant. So that way, India is making progress, but dependency also is increasing. So social media users, you can see there are 491 million users, that is 36% of 34% of the population are using one or the other social media platform. So in that way, lot of transformation is happening. So India is the largest user of Facebook. So Facebook has largest user from India than other countries. China, there is no Facebook. So India is the country which large number of people are using Facebook. So we are also using other digital platform. So these days, these digital platforms have become very important for political parties, companies, and institutions, because they can place lot of digital online videos, online advertisements. So you can see every political party is spending lot of money on digital ads. So all these digital ads where Facebook, social media, and Google, which are all multinational or transnational corporations. It is not on the Indian platform which they are able to successfully do it, we can see. So you can see the digital imperialism many people say. So if you see all these things, that India is progressing in terms of digital and other aspect, lot of transformation is happening in other things. So that way it is good. But this is also leading, contributing like how we are going to face the digital colonization. For example, you can see digital imperialism. So Facebook. So India is the largest user of Facebook. So they have the data centers. So they have 15 data centers, 10 in North America, and then 4 in Europe and 1 in Singapore. Means entire Asia, they have only one data center. All the data of the users are stored in this 15 data centers. So the picture is also one of the data center. So there is no data center of Facebook in India. They are not storing the data in India. They are storing the data in the Western countries. So the point I'm trying to say is that every political party is spending a lot on Facebook page. There's for advertisement in Google ads or in Facebook or in WhatsApp or in other Instagram. So they're spending a lot of money on digital ads. So BJP's expenditure of 2024 Lok Sabha election was 1,737 crores. This they have submitted to Election Commission. This is there in the Election Commission website also. Means there's for one election, Lok Sabha election, they spent 1,737 crores. Congress spent around 620 crores. Second party to spend highest. But interesting thing is that for digital ads, digital advertisement only, they spent around 600 crores, almost same as what Congress has spent for the entire elections. Of course, there is capping on political candidates contesting candidate. There is a what we call, there is a capping, but with regard to political parties there is no capping. So parties can spend as much as possible. There is no capping on campaigning, rallies, publicity, many other things we can see. So the point I'm trying to say is that now digital platforms have become important for the political parties to give digital ads in these multinational or transnational companies. So they're making a lot of money. So whether it is in YouTube, whether it is Facebook or Instagram, WhatsApp, everywhere they're giving that. So that is a thing. So that way they have all the money to make. At the same time, they have complete control of the users also. That is the one. So India is contributing 20% of the world data. So entire world, 20% of the data comes from India. So because we are 1.4 billion population. So we have details of the Aadhaar, we have details of the electoral voter ID, we have details of driving license, we have details of ration card, we have details of rural employment guarantee scheme. We have details, every details we have been providing. So 20% of the world data is provided from India. But 1/10 of the data are stored in India. So 20% of the data we are generating in India, but only 1/10 we are storing it in India. 90% of all our data is with the tech companies or the corporations of the Western countries, which are based in Western countries. So that is the irony we can see. But the multinational companies justify. So they say why they're keeping the data abroad, not in India. They say it's because lack of robust data infrastructure. They will say in India, we do not have the data infrastructure or data storage infrastructure is not there. So we are keeping it there. And also limited storage capacity. In India, we can't have so much of capacity to store the data and other things. So it is better to keep the server there. So that becomes, and also regulations are there. So these are the issues which they say and say, we will keep all the data there. It is safe, secure. That's the reason WhatsApp always says it is end-to-end encryption. So WhatsApp is not seeing what message you are sending to others, receiving, they are not seeing. But virtually we can't, we might believe that one, but government has a right to see what we are sharing, what we are doing. So everything government has a name in the name of national security, we can see. So even you can see all this AI has come. So now all this thing we can see chat box, chat GPT or the Google AI Gemini is there. So like the several platforms have come. So they are also setting a different narrative. Okay, for example, so you can see that the Google AI chat box, Gemini, which is there. So if the question was asked about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, so it is tried to argue that he's a fascist, authoritarian, so projecting Hindu right wing and other things. Whereas when it was asked the same question to the chat box that about Donald Trump, about Ukraine Prime Minister Zelensky, so it clearly articulated that very carefully and diplomatically it spoke. It did not say that Trump is a fascist or Ukraine Prime Minister is a fascist. No, means because it is that is the companies are there, so they can set the narrative whichever they want. So that can be against a country, in favor of a country. So anything can happen. So this is the other form of digital colonization. So means there is no neutrality, there is no any kind of other sense. So that becomes the main issue we can talk about. So that is also one of the clear cut issue we can see. So now we'll come to the important and the last section. So what are the challenges? So what we should do to counter this digital colonization? So earlier it was the freedom fighters, Gandhi, Nehru, Ambedkar, Patel. So everybody fought for the independence and gave us the independence, gave us the constitution, so which we are able to speak and enjoy our freedom, unlike countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, which are undergoing series of tension. But that is not the case in India. Of course, there are issues. So now the question is how we should fight this digital colonization. What India should do to fight this colonization? Can we fight this digital colonization? Anybody? How do you fight digital colonization? Because we can't expect Gandhi, Ambedkar, Nehru to come back and fight. So what is the other alternative with us? ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಫೈಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಕಾಲನೈಸೇಷನ್?
So we have to use local digital products.
ಓಕೆ.
ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಲೈಕ್ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು.
ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್
ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಗತ್ಯ ಬೇಕೋ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮಾತ್ರ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಸರ್.
Okay, so limited use local platforms. Okay, fine, everything. Then
ಬಿ ಕೇರ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್.
okay,
ಆತ್ಮನಿರ್ಭರ ಭಾರತ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹ ಕೊಡೋದು ಸರ್.
okay, promoting Atmanirbhar. Okay,
Promoting our tools globally.
yeah, okay, promoting our tool also globally. That's right. So making Indian brand abroad also. That's fine, absolutely. Anybody?
ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪೆರಾ ಅಂಡ್ ಪೆಮಾ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್
Okay,
ಮಾಡಬಹುದು.
okay, absolutely fine. So there are various ways in which we can try to garner. So all we talked about local platforms and other things. Okay, tell me alternative. Okay, social media alternative. ಈಗ ನಾವು Instagram use ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. We are not going to use Instagram. If you're not going to use Facebook, what is the alternative platform, Indian platform we have? Instagram, WhatsApp ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. Okay, Zoom platform ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. What is the Indian alternative we have? ಇದೆಯಾ ಯಾವ್ದನ? Facebook. Is there any alternative to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google?
Telegram.
ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸರ್.
Okay. For example, ಈಗ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ UPI ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್, ಸೊ ಫೋನ್ ಪೇ ಅಥವಾ ಜಿಪೇ, ಪೇಟಿಎಂಗೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್? ಭೀಮ್ ಆ್ಯಪ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಭಾರತ್ ಪೇ. ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ಭಾರತ್ ಪೇ, ಬಟ್ ಭೀಮ್ ಆ್ಯಪ್ ವಾಸ್ ದಿ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಅಥವಾ ಟ್ವಿಟರ್, ಓಕೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀರಿ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ವಿಟರ್? Cuckoo anta they had started. So NDA government had started what they called opposite to Twitter, what is called Cuckoo anta. But how many of them are using? Because even the government ministers, so they are using Twitter X to air their opinion, to praise or to criticize. For everything they are using X. So political parties are funding not in government platforms. So they are giving advertisement in multinational platforms. So alternative is also very important. Atmanirbhar, that is fine. So you can see how many of them many of the ministers, whether it is in Karnataka or central government, everybody says we should promote public universities and our children should study. So, for example, the one of the vice president had said recently, who resigned recently, he said that all parents sending their students abroad is a disease. Okay, sending kids to Western education, foreign university is a disease. But in his own house, there are many of his children, grandchildren who are studying abroad. So many of the ministers will send their children abroad for higher education and other things, but they will say that we need to send students to government schools and other things. So that contrary is there. But anyway, it's a very complex thing which we can see. But of course, India is strong in digital. So we are leading in terms of space technology. So we are also leading in terms of renewable energy sources. So we are also leading in terms of the largest economy in digital economy, and India is also the third largest beef exporter. So we are exporting beef to the world. We are the third largest. So in several front we are making great headway, but there are also challenges. Now we'll see what are the challenges and how we can overcome these challenges. Okay, so the first thing is, see, now this is the AI era. So artificial intelligence models can be used to withstand the digital colonization. For example, now America has its own AI platform, that is the Open AI, and many other. Similarly, China also has come up with the DeepSeek. Okay, that is an AI model which they're coming. So India is yet to come up with that kind of a model, so which is still taking. But if you take in the case of venture capitals, means venture capital means investing in startups or funding the companies which have a long potential growth or can be a big company in near future. So when you talk about venture capital, US and China accounts 80% of the venture capitals, okay, related to artificial intelligence in more than 32 countries. Means they're investing in AI in many countries, and particularly through funding the startup. India also, there are many startups funded by Japan, funded by China and other things. But India is ranked sixth when it comes to the venture capitals in artificial intelligence. One. Second thing, we should work towards ensuring digital sovereignty. So digital sovereignty means control over your own digital destiny. That is the data, hardware, software that you're going to use and create. So all that thing which you're using and creating should be controlled, done completely by us only. So that is all digital sovereignty. Means we are a sovereign independent country, but still we are influenced by the global issues. So when we say we are a sovereign country, so we should not be yielding to pressure from any other countries. But nevertheless, it's a global politics. Every country will be influenced in one or the other way, which we have to accept. We cannot deny somebody from not coming here and other things. So that becomes a very important. So we are might be sovereign, but still this global politics, geopolitics pressure is always there. So we can see, one, we have to become digitally sovereign. So the Indian government should work towards, and already Indian government is coming up with lot of policies and programs to ensure that we become digitally sovereign. So that is the data protection, like for example, IT Act of 2000 or data protection of 2023. Now the draft rules of the IT has been released in 2025. So, but still many people say, although government argument, these are all to make India digitally sovereign. But there are also people who say that can be misused. There will be a lot of surveillance. Democratic rights can be withheld. So many things they are saying that is there. Then data localization, as some of you told. So it is very important to ensure there is a local growth, localization, local economy. So data localization is very important. So basically we can see, but how can we do local data localization when all our data, majority of the social media, e-commerce, so e-commerce, Amazon, Flipkart, whatever. So all the data are in the Western countries, whether it is Microsoft, Azure, or Amazon web services. So all the things are Western. So how can we ensure? So one, digital sovereignty. Second one is strengthening the rules and regulations or acts with regard to sustaining digital sovereignty. Third, data localization, which is very important. Then we also have to oppose many of the tech companies. They oppose, as I told you, they oppose, saying that we'll not share the data, will not keep the data here, because they are saying because of the localized regulations which doesn't allow them to play an important dominant role and continue their services. And also basically because of the, they say that the moment you try to make them localize everything, then it is global innovation is lost. They say innovations cannot be lost. For example, now Tesla, okay, the Tesla electrical vehicle car. So they wanted to come to India from long time, but Indian government said we are imposing huge tax. So you come here, make the car here, and then we will give you subsidies and other things. But the Tesla company, Elon Musk, said nothing. So now they have introduced the car in India. Already it has been sold out. Okay, but the thing is that tax is very high. So it is around 60 lakhs for a Tesla car. Okay, so Tesla car is 60 lakh, but they don't mind because the brand is there. So they're arguing that the brand can help. So almost 50, 100% or 60 or
ಕಾಲೇಜ್ಗಳು ಎದಕ್
90%
ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್
tax.
ಆಗಕತ್ತವ ಮತ್ತೆ ತಗಂತಾರ ಹಂಗೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ 10ನೇ ತಾರೀಕಿಲ್ಲ 15ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು ಒಳಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ
You kindly mute yourself, sir. So, okay, thank you. So there are so huge taxes imposed on Tesla. Government of India is that we don't want to promote Tesla. They should come set up a plant here, manufacture, so that people will get jobs, Indian economy will grow, GDP will grow. But the Tesla doesn't mind, they want. So even Vietnam electrical vehicle is coming to India, and then BYD, Chinese company. Okay, so already they hold 50 to 60% share. Global market, they have the share. So they are competing. Earlier, Tesla, 10 years before, Tesla was dominating in the electrical vehicles. Now it is BYD. Even in European companies, Chinese cars, electrical vehicles are dominating across the world. Even in India, BYD is available. So many people are opting because it's much cheaper, much efficient, and then also cost wise and efficiency wise, it is much better. Tesla is only a brand. So the point I'm trying to say is that China is able to make a lot of penetration in all electrical. So all the electrical scooters which we are using, the batteries, everything comes from made in China only. So electrical and other things, so with regard to that one, all this battery is made in China, we can see. The point I'm trying to say is that the tech companies argue that, okay, the moment we start local connection, so naturally we will lose out because global innovations can't come, regulations will be very severe. And even a study by Facebook conducted a study in 2018, like having a data center in America or in the host countries can create a lot of employment, contribute for the American economy. So Donald Trump will not allow these companies to shift their data center to other countries, like coming to India, because it's a huge loss for the American economy. So they will never allow. So Trump is saying we should make America first. So in that context, they will never allow these companies to. Even he has requested iPhone that we will not give you subsidies, we will impose more tax if you try to set up plant in India. You should manufacture in America only. It will takes, because business wise it is not feasible to set up a manufacturing sector in America, those things that is there. So that then apart from this, digital divide is another factors which we can see. Digital literacy, digital divide is also major challenge for India in achieving digital sovereignty. So we need to also promote education and research, because at the curriculum level, college level, school level, there is a need for digital literacy, digital skills. So then we can become significantly digital sovereign. So these are the steps. Of course, under the NEP or under the SEP, digital skills have been pushed. So now many colleges are offering this kind of skill-based program. But how much skill our students are getting, that need to be debated, other things. So overall, that is also one of the important aspects. Now, coming to my last section, what are the lessons we can learn from countries? So, what lessons we can learn from the other countries with regard to digital sovereignty, with regard to protection of data, and with regard to fighting the digital colonialism? So, Australia, you can see there were regulations. Okay, so where most of the data are stored locally, particularly with regard to health. Not all data are stored in Australia only, but health related data should be stored in Australia. That is a regulation. So you are a multinational company, transnational company, doesn't matter. But with regard to health records of Australian citizen, that should be within Australia. South Korea also, we can see they also have a regulations where you cannot take the data to abroad or stored in other places without the consent of the users. So if I, as a user, if I say, okay, you can store my data abroad, then it's fine. If I don't give the consent, they cannot. So that provisions is there. And if you see France also, they have a policy where they have their own iCloud, means they have come up with their own iCloud system where you can store all the data. So there is no need to Amazon web server to store the data, Microsoft to store the data. So those things are not required. It can be stored within the France itself. Then China and Russia. So since we say they are authoritarian government and but all the data it is stored in their respective country. So they are not giving to the tech companies to store the data and other things. For example, in China, there is no Google, there's no WhatsApp, YouTube, all the things which we are using. It's not there in China, but they have Chinese version of the same. They have a Facebook Chinese version, Instagram Chinese version, they have TikTok, they have YouTube version, they have Google search engine. So all the version of these transnational corporations are there with China. So we say China is an authoritarian country, whatever it is, but they can misuse the data, but it is within the country. So all the data of the users are within the country, not outside China. But 90% of our data is outside India. So that is the only difference we can see. Even China also has come up with the personal information protection law, which is more or like the European. So European countries are also having this law, and China also has adopted this law where data of the people can be protected by the country itself. It doesn't go out at all, we can see. So then if you see Europe, so Europe is another example where they believe it is right of an individual that the data should be protected. So they say data protection is the fundamental right. Okay, so protection of personal data is a fundamental right. So I have to protect my data. That is my fundamental right. So they have what is called as the data box. So where without the consent of the users, the data cannot be transferred outside the Europe. At the same time, I'll have every right to manage and the data which we have. And also this is basically aimed, European countries aiming is to produce some kind of social values instead of profit, because many of these companies will share the data for profit. If I have the huge data, okay, I can share of 100 colleges data, lakhs of student data I can share it with the other private players for a money, because data can get you money. If if I have 200 Aadhars, then I can sell it to somebody and get money. So these things are happening quite common. So there's a data which has become a new oil sort of thing. So then Vietnam. So Vietnam is also very strong. They have a regulations where they will insist that all the data should be stored in Vietnam itself. You cannot store the data in the other country. So that is the cyber security law, which clearly regulates another thing. So that is a very positive things which these countries are doing. And always we can see what we can replicate and then what we can strengthen and other things. Okay, so overall you can see that basically strengthening digital sovereignty is the foremost important thing, and India should develop the AI models or the AI platforms, like how America has been successful, China is successful. Similarly, India also should invest a lot of funds, lot of intelligence, and ensure that we are able to succeed this bringing out this AI, the thing we can see. Then implement data protection regulation. So Indian government has come up with the Data Protection Act and other things, rules. So we need to strengthen further and ensure that the data are protected of every users, whether it can be educated or uneducated, doesn't matter, literate or illiterate, but the data protection should be there. And we also have to develop the ethical digital. So not just developing the AI platform, other things, it has to be ethical important. Means ethics means protecting the data, all the things becomes. Then enacting policies and regulations to protect uh, protect all the sensitive data or localization, promoting local innovations, funding local innovations. Of course, Government of India has come up with Make in India campaign, startup campaign, but one has to do an analysis of how far it has been succeeding in terms of these things. We can see all those who are studying in IITs, creamy layer of Indian institutions, which are highly subsidized. And after majority, 50 to 60% of them go abroad. Okay, so they are studying in IITs, IIM, and after 60 to 70% they go abroad, and then they're working for many of these transnational companies. So that way our talent is being drained out. Why? Because they say that there's no opportunities, or there is no other funding support, financial support, R&D and other things. So those things comes into picture. We can see that is where digital infrastructure, everything to be built out. Last one is that is open source technologies. So many countries, third world countries, are also looking for the open source technology. Means it's an open source, anybody can access, anybody can store, so nobody is trying to control over it. So open access technology is the one where we have to invest and make it more accessible to everybody. Open source, so there's no digital colonization. Tech companies will not be able to control over it. So that way will reduce the dependency and all, whether it is software, hardware, other things, building the local network and other things. So we have to come up overall to fight the digital colonization. We have to become digitally sovereign. So how you become? That is promoting, coming up with digital platform, digital infrastructure. All the datas are protected within the country. So then only we'll be able to withstand the digital colonization. Otherwise, we'll also be a country like any other African country being colonized, despite being very strong potential on the digital realm. So thank you one and all. And so any questions and clarifications?